Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of The Next Issue. This week is a special Thanksgiving Day episode, and, well, I figured as a bit of our own tradition we'd make starting with this first episode. Now, I would start the tradition of what should comic book characters themselves be thankful for. And out of the long list they have, you know, powers, friends, being thankful that they saved the world again. This week I thought I'd go into something that several heroes are very thankful for, and some heroes, something that a lot of heroes out there wish they had to be thankful for, and that's family. Or I guess to really get into the meat and potatoes of the conversation, I guess the meat for this would be turkey per se, but all puns aside, how important is family to the character itself in our books? For some characters, family's not that important. You've got several solo characters that the family kind of just takes a back seat to. Harley Quinn, Deadpool. While in other cases, family kind of starts to take a little bit of a more important role, but never really quite catches on. Like, say, the Incredible Hulk, always alone, but at the same time does always cherish his time when he was married to Betty, or when he was starting a family on Planet Hulk, or in that storyline anyway. And then you get into the characters that family plays such a huge deal with, such as the Ninja Turtles or the Fantastic Four, or even Mega Man. Heck, the X-Men is just one gigantic, huge story encompassing a very large family in general. Now, obviously, for the characters that family doesn't play as big a deal with, they have several different motivations that are not family related. Just, but those motivations are usually a little bit more random, more themed to, you know, less serious topics in a lot of way. Whereas the more you kind of aim towards a family motivation, the more serious the story arcs get. That's why a lot of the things you do see in like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and a lot of the newer Ninja Turtle storylines, things where family is the core of the entire story itself, you see those, like I said, those more serious storylines. It becomes the driving force, the main motivator there. Now, to me, I believe that if you're a character that family is not as important of an issue, and then all of a sudden you make it that way, you introduce that element that they didn't have before, and you give them that motivation, family becomes a huge important thing to that story. The same can be said for if a character already has a family dynamic. Losing that family becomes once again a very large, very huge, impactful thing to them. To me, the one time, not even the one, but one of the biggest instances that family actually doesn't play as important of a thing is the middle character. Because that character is, for lack of a better term, wishy-washy. They could one minute be around their family and have an arc where they may be about to lose their brother or sister, and then two books later, they go back to just being that lone character that they're happy to be alone with, aka basically the Incredible Hulk. Whenever he was married to Betty, saving her, having that relationship with her was a huge deal. And then when he didn't have her anymore, while it did change him, he at the core was still Bruce Banner, still the Hulk. Nothing really changed overall. And so the stories for the Hulk, for the most part, just basically stayed almost the same. Having a family or not having a family never really changed anything for the Hulk. Whereas if you were to take Leonardo and have him lose all of his brothers, all of a sudden you've almost completely changed the entire dynamic of the character. He's no longer going to be anything like he was before. The same could be said for if you took a character, say, like Deadpool, and given Deadpool's a very he's a very hard example of this, but at the same time, if written well, this could work. But if you were to take a character like Deadpool or even Harley, who they have shown her family before, and really push that, give those characters uh, a wife or husband and kids, and really kind of play that huge dynamic to it, once again, you change the character to its core. And so that's, to me, for me, that's where I feel like family, or the family aspect anyway, is such a huge importance in comics. Now, the two most important aspects of family I can name right off the top of my head is the character of Superman and the family of the Fantastic Four. Now, for you readers of Superman nowadays, this is going to be a little quote unquote alien for you, but Superman, over time, once he married Lois, and even for the arcs where he had an adopted son, Christopher Kent, and in the current storyline, they have their son Jonathan. You get to see the character of Superman more in the dynamic of the father figure of the DC universe in general. Everything he learned, that Kal, or Clark I should say, learned from his dad, he used to watch over all of his friends. And, well, let's face it, a character like Superman looks upon everyone with the same love as he does his family, and so they are his family. Now, with the reboot of the New 52 and the elimination of all that family aspect, and to a degree even de-aging him, Superman more becomes your everyman kind of deal. Especially in the current arcs where he doesn't even have half of his powers anymore. He no longer really becomes that father figure anymore. Now it's more, how would you be? It's more relatable to the younger crowd. But that in turn shows that huge change, that huge shift, and it's suffice to say the New 52 is definitely missing that guardian role, that father figure, that family figure of Superman. The same thing goes with the Fantastic Four. Given not every single thing about them pertains per se to family, but their family is the core to their whole being. And any time they've ever lost, even not even the blood related ones, but anytime like when they lost Johnny Storm, this was still a huge impact to their family and that loss. Now, if you're anything like me, Thanksgiving is going to be a time of, well, I know I'm going to say this word a whole lot this video, but family, whether it's blood related or not, food, and relaxation. Of course, if you're one of those that's putting up your Christmas ornaments a little early, maybe not so much the relaxation part. But I would definitely suggest, much like what I like to do, is after you're done eating your big meal and you've spent some time with the family and you need your time to relax, maybe if you're like how I was with a larger family when I was younger, and you're just looking for a little bit of time, not a long, but obviously like an hour to yourself after you spent so much time with family, sit down and read you some of these comics from these characters I'm mentioning. Because, I mean, what better way to look at Thanksgiving than to be thankful for your family and friends, but especially your family, and to read about these great characters that have these core values, such as, once again, like I said, pick up a good Ninja Turtles comic. If you're reading the current Superman books, not the Superman in Action Comics, but the one that spun out of Convergence that has the pre-New 52 Superman with Lois, or even if you have any pre-New 52 books with from their time married, and obviously the Fantastic Four, or any good book pertaining to family, definitely sit down and give it a good read. Now, I'm going to go more in depth into a lot of this in my article next week, so definitely check that out. We're going to go into the real importance to the character, things I don't have a whole lot of time to be able to do here on the video. I can't really explain it as well, so check out my article next week, and we're definitely going to get into the dynamics of the family with the character and everything. And of course, and I've tried to dodge this, and I will mention it on here, and we're going to go into detail on this, but of course, this is definitely going to be touching base on Brand New Day with Spider-Man, because that was a very big hit to the family dynamic. That and the decision to do the reboot to Superman and the New 52 with Superman and Lois and everything that had changed there. Some of the stuff I touched base on here, but this is the power trip. Wishing you all a happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you next week for the next issue.